Don't let Donald Trump Clintonize the GOP. I think we're a little late for that, don't you? So writes David French at National Review this morning, giving it the old college try, as it were. Calling on conservatives to call Trump to account when he veers from fundamental standards of morality and good sense. Of course, that begs the question of when Donald Trump has ever stood on fundamental standards of morality or good sense. Donald Trump is the antithesis of these virtues. Now, unless Donald Trump significantly changes course, conservatives should get ready for a wild, inconsistent, and exhausting 4 years. With the exception of shorter periods of quiet caused by desperate political necessity, the president-elect's governing philosophy seems relatively simple. Look out for number one. He does what he wants, when he wants. We have seen this movie before. It starred Donald Trump's good, close, and personal friends, Bill and Hillary Clinton. This doesn't mean that Trump will have a free hand in policy. The Clintons certainly didn't. After all, the American system boxes in a president, or at least it boxes in Republican presidents, which Trump isn't one, so you can see where I'm heading with this. Imposing comprehensive checks on his power. This is a terrible example. Just ask Barack Obama? Not a good example there, Mr. French. He came into office promising to stop the rise of the oceans. He leaves with a legacy that features one unpopular social reform and a collection of regulations and executive orders that Trump can, but it's not so much that he won't unwind them with the stroke of a pen, but that he'll just redirect them. That's really what it's going to amount to. No, Trump's version of I'll do what I want is a function of personality and politics. And it means that honest conservatives will be constantly lurching from applause and support to critique and condemnation. Well, no. Honest conservatives will never be applauding or supporting anything Donald Trump does. There will be plenty of critique and condemnation now. Nominees such as Betsy DuBois for Commissar of Education, and remember, she's a big Common Core supporter, so there's nothing to applaud there. And Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, that's kind of spotty. With Sessions, it's not so much what he would do as Attorney General, as it is, his confirmation hearings are going to be the mother of all borkings. So, how difficult is it to find a conservative attorney general, assuming Trump wanted one, who is not, or who doesn't have, shall we say, a vulnerable past history of public statements on race? Are you telling me that there's not any conservative who would be qualified to be Attorney General whose confirmation hearings wouldn't go at least as smoothly as any Republican nominees could go? But the reason why there will be no good cabinet choices in a Trump regime is Steve Bannon. Placing Steve Bannon, the Joseph Goebbels of 21st century America, so close to the seat of power is abominable, and he will be the gatekeeper, folks. The president can't moonlight as a real estate mogul, and Republicans, rightly outraged at the pay-to-play aspects of the Clinton Foundation, cannot turn a blind eye to the potential influence of large-scale foreign business at Trump properties, hard as both may try. In other words, this is why I say with Trump, it is not a question of there was no difference. There was never any difference between Trump and Clinton. Two sides of the same coin. They're exactly the same. And that is going to dominate whatever time Donald Trump actually spends in office. In his public comments, Trump similarly lurches back and forth. His statement following Fidel Castro's death was excellent, offering truth and moral clarity on the death of a vicious tyrant. Then, days later, he went on a tweet tirade that questioned the legitimacy of the electoral results that elected him, making a completely evidence-free claim that he would have won the popular vote but for millions of illegal votes for Hillary Clinton, which is just nonsense. To say nothing of the fact that he won the Electoral College. That's all that matters. But his ego can't handle the fact that he also didn't win the popular vote. And as I've said in recent videos, losing the popular vote robs him of any claim to a mandate. And that's how the Democrats and that's how the media, pardon the redundancy, are going to treat it. In other words, the President-elect of the United States of America repeated conspiracy theories from the dark corners of the internet. You know, the same people, InfoWars, that crowd of tinfoil hatters that up to and including on Election Day itself were circulating stories about massive voter fraud, coast to coast, huge conspiracy that was going to rig the election against Trump and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, Trump won anyway. On Election Day itself, I was telling Trump supporters who were posting this garbage, why do you have so little confidence in your candidate? And now here Trump has won. Trump is going to be the 45th president of the United States unless Barack Obama pulls his coup d'etat. And they're still doing it. Trump himself is doing it. Bitching and moaning about, whoa, I should have won the popular vote if not for those millions of illegal votes for Hillary Clinton. It fits in with my theory that Donald Trump didn't think he was going to win, never thought he would get this far, and ran primarily more than anything else to prove that he could win. He wanted to win. He wanted to prove that he could win. And now it's like he doesn't know what to do. The campaign was what turned Trump on. Not being president, not making cabinet selections. And I mean, sure, he'll love the perks and prestige of the job. That'll feed his ego just like it did Barack Obama's. But he loved the rough and tumble. He loved the fight. He loved the campaign. Governing is going to bore him out of his tits, to employ a phrase. Why do you think he wants to make Mike Pence his chief operating officer, so to speak? He wants Pence to actually be acting president so that Trump can just go around and keep doing what he's been doing for his entire adult life. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Why do you think? Now, there are many different theories as to why he's considering Mitt Romney for Secretary of State. And maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I mean, there's one theory that I personally subscribe to, that there's no way, and there never was any chance that Donald Trump was going to offer the Secretary of State job to Mitt Romney. That this is this whole thing is just to embarrass, humiliate Romney, just bitch slap him, it's like, and that's like I said last week on Facebook, because I wasn't making videos last week because I had a really bad cold and I couldn't get 2 syllables without coughing. But Romney doesn't need to be Secretary of State. He took his, he ran for president, he got his turn, and it didn't turn out the way he wanted, and he lost, so that was it. So he doesn't need to be Secretary of State. I mean, this is a case of Trump needing Romney way more than Romney would ever need Trump. And so the way that he might be getting around it is like Kellyanne Conway, his campaign manager, just yesterday trashed Romney in the classic Trump-esque passive-aggressive fashion, referring to other people. Well, Trump supporters would feel betrayed if Trump made Romney a Secretary of State. And and there are theories about how, there was a report that Trump was pissed off at Kellyanne Conway for going into business for herself. But then, according to the theory that I subscribe to, she doesn't take a piss without Trump's permission. So Trump sent her out there to say that on his behalf. Now, of course, you could say, well, but Trump doesn't need people speaking on his behalf. He does all his speaking for himself. So, but I do subscribe to the Trump is just trying to humiliate Mitt Romney, kind of rub it in. Because, of course, Mitt Romney was a charter member anti-Trumper, or not, never-Trumper, excuse me. Never-Trumper, like myself. Well, like myself, plus about $200 or $300 million, but other than that. So, and he's just trying to get his revenge, being his normal, petty, drama queen self. So, lurches back and forth. The Castro statement, I mean, it's not hard to sound and look presidential when the left is your opposition. I mean, the statement that Barack Obama, the statement of condolences that Barack Obama issued to the people of Cuba, after losing their dear leader, Fidel Castro, who turned their country into a communist dungeon and kept it that way for almost 60 years. So, it's just not difficult, in other words, for Trump to look good when the left makes it so easy for him. But he can't leave it at that. That's David French's point. He can't leave it at that. He can't remain presidential. Donald Trump is who Donald Trump is. Petty, mean, vindictive, liberal, Clinton-esque. So yeah, Donald Trump repeats conspiracy theories on the darkest corners of the internet, the info wars, tinfoil hat crowd, because that's also part of who he is. Because he's paranoid, and that grows out of his narcissistic personality disorder, his fact that he is a full-blown sociopath, maybe even psychopath, when you get right down to it. Conspiracy theories so blatantly absurd that any reasonable person should dismiss them out of hand. It was irresponsible for Trump to cast doubt on the integrity of the election. And again, the election that he won. Why would he want to cast suspicion? Why would he want to cast doubt? Why would he want to discredit his own victory? It's almost like I wouldn't be surprised to see Donald Trump start calling for recounts. Hey, let's have recounts. Of course, he'd be doing it in the sense of, well, he already said this. He said this in that aforementioned tweet just yesterday. Well, I really won the popular vote, and if we did a whole nationwide, coast-to-coast recount, we'd prove that all those millions of votes, millions of illegal votes for Hillary Clinton. Be careful what you wish for, buddy. You don't want to give the left the opportunity, your imprimatur, on their attempt to take your victory away from you. Now, could it be done? Well, no, not really. Not really. Because like I say, the problem with voter fraud is that you have to prevent it. You have to preempt it. You cannot fix it after the fact. Because to the winner go the spoils. And the winner benefiting from voter fraud, the winner is not going to investigate himself, which is what makes what Trump is doing and saying with this tweet over the weekend so insane. The winner doesn't call for recounts. The loser does. The winner has won. Right? The winner has won. The winner doesn't need recounts. He's already won. It's not Hillary Clinton selecting a cabinet today. It's Donald Trump. And here's Donald Trump say, yeah, let's recount from coast to coast because I want to prove that I really won the popular vote. Popular vote, as far as winning the election, is irrelevant. The popular vote only matters in terms of, do you have a mandate? And Donald Trump doesn't have a mandate. And to be honest with you, I don't really think he was seeking one because there really isn't anything that Trump wants to do other than just make deals with Democrats. Why do you think he wants, again, why do you think he wants to farm out the day-to-day job of being president to Mike Pence? That's why. Because he doesn't want to do it himself. He's lazy. He's indigent. He's slothful. He doesn't want to be president. He just wanted to prove that he could win. And now he's done that. And now he's like, well, now what? Now what the hell do I do? Trump partisans wave this all away. Of course they do. They're going to be doing a lot of this, waving this all away and making excuses and, just crapping on the rest of us for not sticking to their narrative, which is sticking their fingers in their ears and saying, make America great again, make America great again, make America great again. They say Trump's not impulsive, he's disruptive. He's not erratic, he's playing 9-dimensional chess. Yeah, Trump is so smart. Where have we heard that before? Every time a Democrat gets elected president, they are the smartest people who ever walked the face of the earth. Hillary Clinton, brilliant. Bill Clinton, brilliant. Barack Obama, a god walking among us. And now here's Donald Trump playing 9-dimensional chess. Yeah, Trump is so smart. He's so much smarter than the rest of us. God, I'm sick of narcissists. At least George W. Bush. George W. Bush wasn't perfect, God knows. But at least George W. Bush had a modicum of humility. You know? I mean, he wasn't a narcissist. He wasn't in our faces 24/7. He would leave us alone. And see, this is what really kills people like Joe Scarafone. Trump's partisans won't ultimately decide his fate. He won millions of votes from people who don't like him, but liked Mrs. Clinton even less, or simply wanted change. You know, it seems to me that people ought to start thinking that through more. We want change. Why is it that every time that people vote for and elect change, things continue to stay the same? For the last 8 years, or almost 8 years, we've had a leftist narcissist socialist. Well, who did the American people just get through electing? What is it now? 3 weeks ago? Who did the American people just get through electing? A leftist narcissist socialist. That doesn't sound like change to me, ladies and gentlemen. Trump is starting with Republican majorities in the House and Senate, but without a strong public reservoir of goodwill. In other words, he doesn't have a mandate. He lost the popular vote. He got fewer votes overall. Now, the Electoral College determines who becomes president. In essence, the states elect the president. The executive head of the federal government. But the popular vote bestows a mandate, or doesn't, as the case may be, and Trump lost the popular vote, so he has no mandate. He has the power, but he doesn't have a mandate. So, I mean, he can use the power, but if he uses the power in a way that pisses off the public when he doesn't have a mandate to begin with, of course, that then begs the question of whether you think that Trump would want to serve a second term. I mean, Donald Trump has one term written all over him. If Trump thinks he can careen through his term, kicking up controversies every week, which he will, he may be in for a rude political awakening. Of course, he was supposed to be in for a rude electoral awakening, so your mileage may vary. After all, the Democrats aren't dumb enough to nominate Hillary again, are they? No joke, by the way. According to Ron Fournier of National Journal, according to Clinton insiders, that's what they're angling toward. Hillary Clinton's not done yet. Oh, boy. I guess she's going to try to help Trump get a second term if he chooses to run for one. Although, you know what? Maybe Hillary Clinton can beat a crashed and burned President Donald Trump after his presidency has been destroyed, which it will be. By and at his own hand. He just can't help it. I mean, the GOP merely need look to recent history to observe how quickly political triumph can turn to tragedy. Obama began his first term with larger House and Senate majorities than Republicans have now. Way larger. 60 seats in the Senate versus 52 for the Democrats then versus 52 for the Republicans now. And 18 more House seats for the Democrats then than the Republicans now? Obama lost the House in 2 years and the Senate in 6, even as he remained personally popular. And Trump is not personally popular. In the latter part of Bill Clinton's second term, Democrats crowed over his victory in the impeachment battle and his high personal approval ratings, but they wouldn't win back the White House for another 8 years. The Clinton comparison is key, my friends. Democrat partisans, obsessed with winning each news cycle, focused on short-term victory, on surviving each new scandal. Eventually, they became so morally compromised that they saw each and every new revelation about Bill and Hillary as cause for fresh outrage against Clinton critics. Is this starting to sound an awful lot like Trumpoids, ladies and gentlemen? I think it does. To hear Clinton loyalists talk about the 2016 election is to enter a parallel universe where the press was biased against her.
yourself. Oh my god, dude.
That was fun. And she underperformed Obama because sexism is more acceptable than racism, as the left would put it. It is frankly sad and pathetic. See, Republicans need to decide, or rather, Republicans. Will they allow Trump to Clintonize the GOP, or will they use their influence to hold him accountable not just to the party's professed principles, but also to basic standards of decency and good sense? Hasn't that ship already sailed? I mean, if conservatives still had any influence in the GOP, Donald Trump would not have been the party's presidential nominee. Once Donald Trump became the nominee, the question of conservative influence was settled. It's gone. Conservatism has been purged from the party. Trump said so himself. This is the Republican Party, not the Conservative Party. And Trump supporters are saying, get on board. We're all National Socialists now. Stephen Moore said it last week. He told conservative Republican congressmen, abandon your Reagan conservative principles. This is Trump's party now. So I think this challenge that David French is throwing down is that ship has already sailed. That question's been answered because Trump has already Clintonized the GOP. And conservatives aren't even in the party anymore. They don't have any influence to hold him accountable to just the party's professed principles, because the party threw out those professed principles by embracing Trump. To say nothing of basic standards of decency and good sense. You wanted conservative principles, you wanted basic standards of decency and good sense, you should have nominated Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Scott Walker. You nominated Trump, and so conservative principles, basic standards of decency and good sense got blown out the nearest airlock. Case closed. Because if they don't, concludes Mr. French, and they already haven't, then we can see their political tomorrow, and it looks a lot like Hillary's today. But then that too is already baked into the cake. Really, the question in my mind is, would the Democrats, not that Hillary Clinton wouldn't run again in 2020, I can easily see that, but would the Democrats really nominate her again? But then if they do, she'd probably win.